Welcome to Yeshiva Daf. Shir sponsor Lui Nishvas Aram Yaakov Shalom and Leah Bas Yitzchok. Aleim Shalom. We are holding in Metzia Daf Memches. We're starting in the bottom of Metzia with base. The Gemara told us we're in the middle of a discussion. What is the discussion? The discussion is Midir Rice. We know the Mishnah tells us that in order to be koine an item, you need to do what? Meshicha. You need to pull the item. You need to pull it. If you pull it, you're koine. If you didn't pull it, you're not koine, even though you gave money for it. Is midiraisa. Does money work? And the only issue is that midiraisa money works, and the only issue is that Rabbanon said I don't want money to work. Why? So a person should not come and say that the chitim got burned. What's going to happen? A person's going to come and pay for the wheat. Thank you. A person's going to come and pay for the wheat, and then he's going to pay. It's because this. So Reuben buys item from Shimon, comes to Shimon and says, Shimon, where's the money, the chitim I bought? So sorry, it got burned. Too bad. It was yours already because you gave the money. So Rabbanan says until you don't do Mashiach, you're not koine. That's what Rabbi Yechon holds. Rish Lakish holds no. Mashiach leferesh is minatoyo. Minatoyo, you have to buy a Mashiach. That's the machlokes of Rish Lakish, and that's what we got to the sukkah. So now the Gemara is going to ask a question. We're starting now from the bottom of Metzia base. Last word in the fourth line from the bottom. Tanan. Aval, what does it say in the end of the Mishnah? Omu. Even though you could change your mind without Mashiach, but whoever punished their Mabul, who's that? Akash Baruch Hu, he's going to punish anybody who doesn't keep his word. We'll see in a moment why. What's the connection? Here, you see, if you talk about money, if you want to say really, money is coin. But Rabbanan said you have to do Mashiach. So a person before doing Mashiach changes his mind, say, that's not nice. Midoraisa, more is koines. That's why you have the oval. Avaliyah, more said it's koines. But if you hold Midoraisa, nothing happened. And Midorabbanan, nothing happened. In my koibo oval, why do you have oval mishapara? Why is oval? Why is mishapara? They won't understand. We need to have some legitimacy to this kinyan. Says the Gemara, Mishum Dvarim. Says, well, yeah, no. The fact that a person gave his word and said, I am going to do this transaction, even though there was no kinyan. You gave your word, you have mishapar. Says the Gemara, Mikai Bava. You want to tell me words alone is enough to put a person in this katsa of mishapara? Now listen to this Bryce. This Bryce is going to add to the Mishnah. The Bryce with a chesed daf on top. Hashem noimer afal pishamu told his koine dinar zov koine dinar zov ve'dinar zov koine talis. Even though we learn that an item, when you pull the item, you're obligated to give the money. You pull the money, you're not obligated to give the item because you have to do mishicha, right? Mikomokom kach halacha. That's the halacha. Avalom, they said mishaparo. Now listen very careful to the Gemara. The word does add a little bit more in this Bryce on the Mishnah. Mishaparo matched the Ramabu. The one who punished the Ramabu. Umatched the Rapalago. The Rapalago. Umatches Doiv Amoiro. Mitzrayim Bayam. We're adding more cases. Who asidli par Mishain or maybe Dibur. He's going to punish anybody who doesn't keep his word. That's the beginning of the Bryce. We'll get back to that in a moment. Someone who just doesn't do any transaction. They're just talking. He says, you know what, I'm going to buy your house. I'm going to buy your car. He's not koine. But if you change your mind, you're not so happy with him. It doesn't say Mishapara. Mishapara is a very, very strong losha. Whoever punished Dara Mabul will punish a person not in Bidibur. But is a much more lenient concept. Rava holds, so that we should discuss what does Rava come to say different than the Brayso. Tais wants to say that maybe he argues in the beginning of the Brayso that you don't even have Mishapara. So what do you see over here? You see by words only, there's no Mishapara. Answers the Gemara, Dvorim v'ika by Darim Mois Kai Bovel. Dvorim v'leika by Darim Mois Loi Kai Bovel. This is the one no. Really, Dvorim, words alone, you don't have Mishapara. You don't have the punishment of the Mabul. But a person who says his word and gives money for it, even though money is not a transaction, but he more solidifies his word, he makes it a really more real, so then you do have Mishapar. And the Rishonim even ask, what was the name of the Havamiyah? It's a pasha difference. Just saying a word, two people they're talking to each other, the guy says, you know what, I'm going to buy it. I changed my mind. But if you give money, even though money is not a Kenyan, but your word was a much stronger word. Now here, just to point out, and this we're going to discuss this more in length in the Shon Machshava on the Daf. But what is the pshat? Mishapar Dora Mabul, Dora Palogo, Dora Shosdoim, and then we add Mitzrayim Bayam. Now he's going to be pariah anybody shein no imid b'dibur. What's pshat? So here is a very important insight, and it's very deep, kabbalistic, but it's important and it's in your diyim. So it's good to know. The Arizal discusses, it's famous Arizal, long Arizal, discusses what happened in Mitzrayim. The big question he quotes the Zohar. The Zohar asks the question, why did Am Yisrael get punished to go to Mitzrayim? What did they do wrong? For 400 years, they suffered so much. What's going on? So the Arizal says something which is very Kabbalistic, but it's important to know it. The Arizal says that when Adam HaRishon did a chait, it says that for 130 years he was not with his wife. And he raw Keri loinsoy. He saw Keri. And this Keri created all kinds of mazikim and shaitim. Who was created from these mazikim? Look at the Arizal, Dora Mabul, Dora Palogo, and the Dora of Zdoim. That's what Arizal says. The Arizal goes on and says that Am Yisrael and Mitzrayim were a gilgul of all these Doros. So they had to be punished and suffer in Mitzrayim to fix what Dora Mabul, Dora Palogo, Dora Shosdoim did. And then they carried Mitzrayim, they fixed everything and they got the Torah. That's the story of the Arizal. Azosh to the Arizal, big oimik for him. On this Arizal, there's probably, if I have to guess, 150 Sfarim that are written on this Arizal. For him, a Muki Boyd. Giving you a gift, giving you a jewel, something to think about. And I think Ruben Schwartz also has it for him in his farm. Yes. But we'll talk about it more in length afterwards. But that's what it says here. So Zok ben Yoyod over here, how did it start, this whole thing? Because Adam HaRishon lied. What did he lie? He told, or Chava, depends who started it. How did the whole Chet Adam HaRishon start? The wife, Chava, tells the Nochash, Hashem told us not to touch the tree. Hashem never told her not to touch the tree. She told her not to eat the tree. So Chazal say that the Nochash pushed Chava on the tree, and he told her, you see, nothing happened. And that caused Chet Adam HaRishon. So because there was a Shinui B'dibur of Adam HaRishon, that caused Dora Mabul, Dora Palogo, Dora Shosdoim. Zok de ben Yoyado. So that's why it says, Mishapara Midora Mabul, Dora Palogo, Dora Shosdoim. Who you from Mishaino and B'dibur, going back to that. I'll take a point of the ben Yoyado, and then we goes into what about Mitzrayim Bayam, but this will leave for the Shor Machshava to leave something for there. So we'll have some appetite to listen to that as well. So to Gemara. Omarov, Krua umastiso misayel l'Rish Lakish. I have a pasuk and I have a braiso like Rish Lakish. The Rish Lakish is the what? The Meshicha Koina. Minatoyu. Sigma, what's the rayo? Krua, it says the pasuk d'chtiv v'chichesh ba'amitoy b'pikodoin oy b'tzumis yad oy b'gozel oy oshakis amitoy. So it says there, we're talking about the case of Shmuel. Person went and lied, was mekachesh, to his friend. He did a Shmuel, a sheker, so he needs to go and he has to bring a korban, he has to do a karen and a chomish. Now, as the Bride is going to tell us, it's going to be as a preview to what we're going to learn, just lying is not enough to have the korban Shmuel. It's not enough. But you need to have a item. You need to have a kli. That is denying that kli. And we have denying that kli, so then the kli is with that you have a shvur. So what goes on and explains. So what it says over there, sorry, I skipped the word. Tzumis yad, what is tzumis yad? Tzumis yad means that you have a alva, you have a loan, and he owes money. Lying about the loan doesn't mechayim mishur. But we're talking about he put a kli on the side. The borrower put a kli. So this kli will be for you, the malvi. And then he comes in and denies the whole thing. So he's denying a kli that belongs to the malvi. Oshak, because the next words are et oishek asher oshak. What oshak schar socher? Person comes to work in your house, in someone's house. He builds a fence, and then he says, "Okay, you owe me money. What's $500? You know what? Here is a box. This box is yours. This is $500 box." And then he denies it. So he has a shvur. He has a shvur sheker. He has the dinim of that parsha. Then what it says later in the pasuk. It says afterwards, when a person, what does the Torah say? The Torah says, someone who lied about 4 cases. Sumisyad, Oshak, Pikodoin, Gezel. 4 different cases that he lied about. Then he says, then he decided to return it. But when we speak about returning, we speak about only 3 of the 4 cases. We speak about which is char sochir, or is pikodosh of kadisoy oisoy. 3 cases. Why are we not talking about alva? Why you don't say when you return the alva? When you return the item? My time that's the reason. Because he doesn't own it. The lender doesn't own the item. That's what they have to give it back. What happened over here? Reuven lent money to Shimon. Shimon now owes $100 to Reuven. So Shimon goes and puts an item on the side and said, this item belongs to Shimon, to Reuven. Then he lies about it. Then he admits, I made a mistake. I lied. It was shav. Sorry, let me return it to you. I won't return you the loan. He says, give me the item. No. The item I'm keeping. I'll give you the money. Not the item. Why not the item? The item doesn't belong to you. Why not? You never did Mashiach. But I gave you money. It should be a Kinyan Mois. Mois don't work after the Mashiach. That's right, after the Mashiach. Says the Gemara, the popular Ravo, Eima Miloishiku Da'adriko. Says the Gemara, maybe, says the Gemara, if so, what about Oishik? What the way Rashi says is the losh of the Gemara is a little hard to understand. But by Oishik, when you're talking about Schar Soch, is the same story. Go back to this what we said before. You have someone who comes to the house and somebody else and he builds a fence. He owes him $500. He says, this kli will be for you. Where is the Mashiach? Says the Gemara, isn't you're right? We're talking about that there was a Mashiach. The Sachir took the box, picked it up, said, thank you. He said, you don't keep it for me. So he did Mashiach. So the Gemara, I know Pikodim. Oh, what's okay? He did Mashiach, he took it back, that's Mamash Pikodim. He deposited by him something. So well, you're right. Trey Gavin Pikodim. Okay, 2 times Pikodim. Says the Gemara, Yachi Tzu Metzia Nami Lahadjulu Krikot Shenot Lo Imenu V'Choziv Kidei Etzloi. Says, well, okay, so if so, that's the case that we talk about. They did Mashiach. So why don't you see the same case with Tzu Metzia? By Allah. Reuven bought lent to Shimon. Shimon gave him a kli. Reuven picked up the kli and told Shimon keep a hold on to it. Said, well, Yahadre Koro Lav Tiyuto V'Lav Siyato. You're right. The Torah could have done that. But if the Torah would do that, and now I have not a raya, not a question. Oh, so the Gemara, that's exactly the point. The reason the Torah, according to Rish Lakish, the reason the Torah did not say, but Tzum Mizat to give it back, to teach me this limud. The Mashiach you need Mashiach to be kind. That's exactly the point. You're right. We could have spoke about the same case that he took and put it back. But I don't want to speak about that case. I want to tell you a case he did not be Moshe to tell you that that's why he's not going to. And that's why you don't have to give it back. Raya from the Torah, the Mashiach, you need Mashiach. Says the more of Tzuvas Yad L'Adjuko. You want to tell me Tzuvas Yad is not mentioned over here? Fa'atani, we have a bright soul. How do you know that all the cases apply to all 4 cases? Pikadon, Schasachir, Halva, Gezel. Tichtiv, oy mikol sheishava alav l'sheker. Oy mikol, all of it. Yeah, you do have to return to Visyat. Meaning, if there was a Mashiach on that case. Says the Gemara, you're right. You're right. A Piyu Remez, I'm telling you that really Tzumisyat can also be over there. And will be the case of Mashiach. But the reason the Torah did not say Meferish to teach me that Mashiach is required if you didn't do Mashiach, it does not work. In our case, talk about they did Mashiach. Says the Gemara. Okay, so that was the pasuk, right? The Gemara said, "I'll bring to you a pasuk and a brisa like Rish Lakish." Pasuk we just said, it says over here that if you're lacking Mashiach, you're not going. Mastiso, we know what's mastiso. The Tanya says in the brisa, "Nosno lebolon moal." Someone took money of Hekdesh and he gave it to money of Hekdesh to a bolon. What's a bolon? A bolon is someone who is, like we have today, a balanit, right? In the bathhouse, he cleans the people, right? So he gave it to the bolon. No, there's mila. The minute he gave it to the bolon. Why? There's nothing else. There's no other stage of transaction over here. You give the money, what happens? It's over. Because he's going to wash you right now. Or you can go to Metzia. There's no Mashiach. There's nothing to be Moshe. If there's any other type of work, the Mechas Mashiach is Mashiach Loimoal Ad Moshe. You have to do Mashiach. You have to do Mashiach. It says the Gemara. So what do you see over here? The only reason when you give it to a bolon is a meila is considered to be that it moved from one rishus to another rishus because there's no Mashiach possible over here. But in the case we have Mashiach, the Mashiach, you have to do Mashiach. So what about Tanya Nostra Sapar Moal? What about a barber? It says you give it to the barber's moal. The Sapar Abai Lemimshuk Tisparis. By a barber there is Tisparis. There is what to be Moshe. You have to be Moshe the scissors to come and do the pula. There's a Mashiach. Right? Who is the Seicher? Someone needs to, the renter has to take the kli to give it to the barber. Instead of giving you only money, you have to do some Mashiach over here. So we're talking about a goy, and by a goy there's no Mashiach. According to Rish Lakish, you do Mashiach only by Yisrael. By a goy you don't do Mashiach. So being a raya like this, you give it to a barber, or you give it to a sapan, which is a sailor. Or the kol bali unus leimol ad Moshe has to do Mashiach. Kasha ne'adati. You just said a barber doesn't have to do Mashiach. So the well, elo la shamino kam mesopanochi kam mesop Yisrael shamino. So we know any chidami. The difference between a barber who is a Jew or a goy. A Jew does Mashiach kadosh lakish, and a goy doesn't do Mashiach. Yes, do kirim mois. So that was the rayas. The rayas was a pasuk and a brisa like Rish. So what v'chelam am nachmed v'toyro mois koines. I mean a toyro what's koines mois like Rabbi Yochanan, not like Rish Lakish. Ubot kolov mastiso v'ash. He found the brisa. He looked. He checked the brisa. He found the brisa. It says the brisa noson l'sitoin mo. What's a sitoin? Sitoin is a wholesaler. You give it to the sitoin. And they give him money, and then he's going to give him the fruits throughout the year. So even though he didn't do the Mashiach, he's didn't Mila. Why didn't Mila? Look at the rice. Mois Curtis says the Gemara. The Chesed Beis Ela Kasha Rish Lakish. What Rish Lakish will do with that? So Toys points out, you could have said they give it to a guy. So what we said before. Amar Rish Lakish Amani of Shimoni. So Rish Lakish said it's from Shimon that we just mentioned before in the last daf. Rish Lakish said that Shimon disagrees. He holds more or Curtis. What did you say? You could give it to the guy. I didn't even say. It could be that the sitoin, the wholesaler, is a guy. Right. By a guy, Mashiach is not going according to Rish Lakish. Right. So, like we said before, like the previous answer. And here, if you see, there's a very, very long thesis. And this is really a preview to what the Rishonim talk about. What is the halacha? We pass like Rish Lakish. We pass like a Yochanan. The might say we have to do Mashiach. So I have Kamina. Kamina will be one of Kamina, classic of Kamina that we should speak about. Let's say Reuven gives Shimon money in order to be koine his Gemara. Shimon takes the money. There was no Mashiach yet. So, midar badan, you're not koine. According to Rish Lakish, not even in the Raisa. Shimon takes the money and is Mekadesh Eisha. Just Kedushin. So according to Ishtakish, nothing happened here. The money doesn't belong to him yet. According to Rabbi Yochanan, Midoraisa Mos Karnas. So if you hold like Rabbi Yochanan, it will be Kedushin. The Chumrah. So do you pass like Rabbi Yochanan or Ishtakish? Taisus concludes that you do pass like Rabbi Yochanan. And there's a big B'chalakis Rishayim there. What?
You say, worst comes to worst, just a loan from whomever to the Fira Shlokish. You gave him the money.
No, of course, but he was Mekadesh Eisha.
No, you gave him the money as a loan. Now it's his.
It's not his. It's not a loan.
Yeah.
Because it's not Loitzah Nisto. Loitzah Nisto means that what? Yeah, it's giving. He's not giving it to you to use. You have to don't touch it until I do Mashiach. If you hold more Stakars. Or it would be enough community if you want to point that out. It's also. What about if he's using the chayfet to do Kedushin? He does the item. Right. This is an easier case. You're right. Tibi puts a good point. I like your haro. Let's make it an easier case. Reuven gave money to Shimon in order to buy his sefer. According to Rabbi Yochanan, the sefer belongs to Reuven right away. According to Shlokish, it's not his. That's the Mashiach. Midoraisa. Now Reuven goes to the Isha. It says, my sefer that's there, it's mine. I'm giving it to you as a gift.
Right, but until he gives it to her, he can't just say that's you until he actually gives it to her.
No, you could do it. You could do a Kinyan Sudar, for example. Give a market to her.
Okay.
Hey, she was Kevin Sudar. You could do Kinyan Agav. You could without doing Mashiach, you give it to the other ways to do it. Shilas doesn't work at that. So that would be enough communities. Okay, says the Gemara. We just spoke about this terrible klala. Someone who does that gets punished with a klala mishapara. You tell him, you should know, if you're going to do this, there will be a klal. No, you don't just announce it to him. You actually give him you curse him. We try not to do a klal. It's only if he's acting like he is, but someone doesn't keep his word, he's not oisavai samcha. Keeping your word is the essence of a yid. So we know that. They gave him money to buy salt. The safe milcha, then it got more expensive. So they gave him money. They didn't do Mashiach. Also, go give it to them. If not, you will have Mishapar. If the whole thing we do is just to announce him, you have to tell B'chir Yosef. B'chir Yosef is a big Tanachach, he knows it. You want to tell me give a klala? When he came to say, oh, what should I do? I'm going to get, he knows the halacha. He's coming to accept the klala. Talk about they gave him a Ravon. What's a Ravon? As Rashi points out very strongly, in this case, the Ravon is they start paying him off. In other words, he was supposed to, they gave him an item to do to give it as a collateral, right? So they gave him some of the money. They didn't give it. Rashi says they Ravoni. It doesn't mean an item. It actually means money. So they gave him. They were supposed to pay him $1,000. They pay him $300. So Usava kenegdo koine. So here comes the next discussion of the Gemara. When someone gives, we learn the limud over here. Person gives money to somebody else. Is he koine? He's koine at least from Mishapara. And according to Rabbi Yochanan, Midorais is koine. How much is he koine? Let's say the item is worth $1,000 and he gave $300. Is he koine the whole item because he started paying it off? Or he's koine only $300 value? That was the discussion over here. B'chir Yosef felt, these guys give me $300, not $1,000. So all I need to give them is $300. I'll give the $300, not the $700. Told him, Rabbi Yochanan, no, you have to give him $1,000. Perhaps the Gemara goes on to the next story. Itman. A Ravoin, when you have so the first A Ravoin, Rashi says, is not paying off part. It means, when you're talking about the Ravoin we're talking about over here, that we're talking about a mashko, there's some kind of an agreement over here that anybody who does something wrong will be punished, will will be fined. How does it work? Sorry, the first Erovan is the case, our case. Next Erovan is not. Erovan means you pay partial. Do you coin it connect the partial, or you coin it connect the whole thing? Someone gives Erovan to his friend, and that's Erovan we talk about. This is the Erovan I just mentioned before. A fine. What's the fine? If I change my mind, you can keep the Erovan. And the other one says, you know what? If I change my mind, I'll double the Erovan. So it's some kind of a fine system. This works. Why does it work? Even though it's not a real transaction, it's an asmachta, and asmachta works. He says, no, you're coining only keneged the Erovan. So what does it mean keneged the Erovan? Right? So Rashi says basically that's what they're showing a problem with Rashi. But basically, going back to our sugya, whatever the Erovan is, that's what you're paying, not more, because you don't have a smachta. He said the words Ervoini Yakov. What does it mean? Rashi learns big machloek to show what does it mean. But Rashi learns zikre shalom is not about tchilas piroin. V'shala milvil to us Erovan zikne takol v'hala milsi. In other words, he didn't give it to him as a partial payment. He says, I'm going to give you $300 for that $1,000 for the whole thing. But if now we're going to our case, he sold him something which was 1,000. And he gave him a partial payment. Now I'm going to give you the whole thing for a small amount. So he's koine and he needs to give him the rest. So what do you see over here? You're koine, that's a raya that you're koine the whole thing. Right? Says the Gemara, so the same way by land, you're koine the whole thing, and then you just have to pay off the other payment. So also by land, you could do many kinyanim, as Nikki B'Moses do. Right? Because by karka, you koine B'Moses. So also by metaltal. So says well no. Like metaltal like koine. Metaltal you're not koine only what you gave. So when ma'ishto karko the bekas koine le mamish koine le kuli. So ma'ishto. What's the difference? And so what karko the bekas koine le karko you're purchasing with money. Mamish koine le kuli. So giving a partial payment already is koine the whole thing. Metaltal like koine el kibuli mishapara, but metaltal according to Shlokish. You're not koine only for mishapara, or even according to Rabbi Yochanan, midrabani not koine. Like koine likuli. So then you're not koine likuli. In other words, it really depends how effective you are. If the money is very effective, and with the money you're able to do a real purchase, so I'm saying you started, it's very considered to be the whole thing. But if you're not really doing it, just to start, just to put you into the transaction, whatever you gave, if you didn't give, you didn't give. Yeah, Midoraisa, but Rabbanan said you don't. So it's like almost like a patch is like almost like Africa based in Africa. Says the Gemara, Lemek et Tanoi. Chutz Machlekes Tanoi. Hamalvis Chaver Lamashka v'Nichas V'Shmitu. So just remember this because we learned this in Maseches Gittin. So someone went and was Malve. We saw a similar case. To be exact. Someone was Malvis Chaver Lamashka v'Nichas V'Shmitu. So he lent the money and there was a mashkoin. Tells the Shmito. So we know that although if you have a mashkoin, so the shmita is not mishamit. Here, the mashkoin is worth 500, and he gave him 1,000. So the shmita, it's fine. You have a mashkoin in this hava. If the hava is connected, if you have a mashkoin connected to hava, it works if not. So we're going to explain what's a machlekes. What do you mean not mishamit? He says now mishamin at the $500. He gave a loan of 1,000. He gave him a mashkar of 500. 500 is not mishamit. Says the Gemara Michlal. If you don't know, so if you don't know, will say that even the 500 that he gave this will be mishamit. Why? What he did give a mashkar. It says the Gemara Mimtesa Mudalef. El mashkar did not get lamalei. Why is he giving a mashkar if it doesn't work? El Shvami no. Ma'ino mishamit to come shungul. So what Shungul is referring to? Meaning, like our sugya. He gave a loan of 1,000, he gave a mashkar of 500. 500 is okay for Shemitah. The other 500 is not. Yeah, sorry. The whole thing, Shimon Gamliel says, the whole thing is not Mishamit. He gave $1,000, even though the mashka is only 500. The whole thing is not Mishamit. Umay Mishamit come you don't know. So what you know? Arguing. Le'ach pal gedoloi no kedoloi mashkai. And that's he says back up if what's the machlekes? Shimon Gamliel sova keneget kuloi koine. Fab Yudah sova Yudah sova keneget cannot do koine. Oh, that's the machlekes. Machlekes is, do you say there's no shemitah at all, or you say the shemitah works for 50%? That's it. So Shaila is your mashkoin in lieu of your alva, or your mashkoin is not is a partial mashkoin connected the whole alva, or a partial mashkoin is only for the part of the alva. That's exactly how machlekes. Says the Gemara law. What's the legislature said? This law. He holds it doesn't mishamit at all. And that's what he says. So Yeshiva says the 50% is not mishamit. Only 50%. So you read the notice, he holds it is mishamit. So why do you put a mashkin? Says the Gemara. Yeah, he gave a mashkin. It wasn't meant to use for Shemitah. He says, you owe me $1,000. So you know what? In the meantime, hold on to my watch. My watch is $300. It's not part of the Hava, but that's all. Remember, that's, like sometimes you go on on a boat ride and they ask for your license because your license is worth, they want you to give back the boat. So why are they holding on to the license? Why are they holding it to your item? To make sure you give it back. It's not that I'm pirei on my chayv. Similar over here. You give a mashkor not because that's considered to be a piroi. I'm doing the mashkor just a zikor and very balm to remember what I have. But once Shemitah comes, the Hava is gone because he didn't pay it off at all. Shimon Gamliel says you paid off partial. So there's no raya. This machlekes is the machlekes that we had over here. So the Gemara says we don't have a raya from here. They say the Gemara Rabbi say, well, we end this daf.